Everybody loves to go to the fair. Loki, Season 2, Episode 3, 1893. I think I remember that right. Maybe I didn't. Who cares? So, we have Loki and Mobius trying to track down Renslayer. And Renslayer, working with Ms. Minutes, is working towards basically giving us Kang again, which means that we do get another variant, this one called Mr. Timely, and that does mean that we have Jonathan Majors back. Now, where I'm at with Jonathan Majors is honestly still very much up in the air. I'm kind of awaiting the outcome of a lot of stuff. Not that I'm 100% going to necessarily go with whether or not I'm comfortable watching more things with him on strictly the outcome, but like I'm waiting for more things to fall in place on all this. I have very mixed feelings about it. I've done multiple full-length videos on the main channel, but I'm just saying that to bring up the fact that I'm not going to be touching on that here. But he is back, and he has been one of the highlights of the MCU for me of late. I absolutely love what he did with the part in the finale of the first season of Loki. Especially when I take into consideration that episode is almost nothing but exposition, and it's riveting. I also thought he was one of the best parts of Ant-Man and Quantumania, which is a bit of a mixed movie. I had fun, but like it didn't stick with me. He was still good, though. And he was good and also distinct from He Who Remains, who we initially met last season here. And Mr. Timely is very distinct from either of them. In a way that... All right, let me put it this way. I watched this yesterday. I know I'm getting this out a few days later than I had intended to. It's been a bit of a week. But I watched this yesterday, and I thought about shooting the review pretty much right after, and I didn't, and I slept on it instead, and I'm glad I did. Because I like a lot of the things being done with Mr. Timely on a narrative, structural, working the characters, working with the idea of variance and what it is doing in the story, ultimately of where this episode is going. I like all of that a lot without really enjoying the performance all that much. I'm not going to say it's a bad performance, but it was a little bit too mired in the quirks, in the stammer, in the sudden sort of raising of tone on certain words. It struck me as just trying a little too hard to be awkward. That being said, it sold it well enough. So like that accomplished what it was trying to do, because what it was trying to do, I think, was very effective. So let's talk about what it was trying to do. And the reason that this is there, or at least what I believe was the reason. And we'll see how I feel about it if this particular variant comes back and we spend more time with him. We'll see where I land. But for right now, it's worth it within this episode because it leads us, spoilers for this episode, by the way, it leads us to, at the end, where Sylvie gets ready to kill him, and he says to her, "I'm not that same man. I can make a different choice." That has to land not as manipulation. And pretty much every other version of Kang we've had up to this point, even the ones we've seen briefly, if any of them said this to her, she would have taken it as manipulation, would have sliced him down right then. But this one is different in a lot of ways. And not the entire, but a massive point, and they've reiterated it over the course of the season, which is good because they needed to for this moment to work. They've reiterated that a big part of why Sylvie did what she did was to give people true freedom and choice again. Because the decisions of what choices were valid, what timeline gets preserved while others get pruned, was being decided by someone else. And she said, no, people can make their own choices now. And so when confronted with someone that she's afraid is going to bring about the very thing she destroyed, but it's not strictly speaking the same guy, and he looks at her and says, "I'm not him, I can make a different choice," that's directly confronting her with how is she going to balance this? And the thing is, it's not that I think Sylvie's some kind of ideological absolutist and would go like, oh, yes, you are right. If I believe in free choice, I must let you live. No, like it's visceral. But at a gut level, he touches on why she set them free in the first place, why she killed He Who Remains. And suddenly she's confronted with his face, but also the embodiment of why she did what she did. Or again, at least a very large part of why she did what she did. And to sell that and not have it seem like she's falling for somebody just trying to trick her, he kind of has to be like this. He has to be established as being awkward, fidgety, probably mostly well-meaning, but also willing to con people, manipulative, what's the word? I'm not a manipulator, but he's manipulable. Is that actually a word? I don't know. He can be manipulated, as Miss Minutes tries to do. I'll come back to that. But it is no guarantee that he will become this man. But we also get enough of a glimpse of things that he does or can be convinced to do. He could become He Who Remains, or just someone much more like him. But he might not. That's really good. Balance on that is really good. And I kind of had to sleep on it to really appreciate what that was doing. And that's good stuff. And before all that, the World's Fair, that's a fun setting. And heck of a set that they built for this. Like, it's actually quite impressive. It's easy to get, to forget that, like, oh, it's Marvel, it's big budget. These shows, while they are given large budgets, it's for the whole season, and it's for a significantly larger amount of stuff than would be done if they were just doing a 2-hour movie. So, and this kind of thing has to be built. This doesn't just exist out there. We're like, oh, we'll go shoot on location. No, they had to build that. It's pretty dang good. It's impressive. It embraces the time frame really well. I like it. I said I'd come back to Miss Minutes. People who've been on the channel for a while might know the exact line she said that made me go, ugh. 3 words. I love you. God damn it. Look, in this case especially, I find that so uninteresting. That's not to say that I want Miss Minutes to be devoid of personality. I liked the personality that was there. Don't ask me for an opinion on Tara Strong, who voices her. She's in a controversial situation right now, and I don't have the spoons. Don't ask, please. But anyways, like, she has personality. So I'm not saying I want her to be come across as more robotic, but I was getting the sense that she was, embroiled and wrapped up in these things, and she had, a real personal motivation. But hearing her say those words honestly feels like a reduction. It feels like a simplification of her. Granted, it's not as bad as it could have been, because the worst would have been, I love you and I will do whatever you want. But there was that kind of sense of anger, of being unappreciated, of being like, I love you and you didn't notice me. And also saying it to someone who isn't the guy that you love or who wronged you. So again, some interesting stuff going on there. I don't even mind the dynamic. But did she have to say it? Did we have to boil it down to the idea that she's in love with him? I feel like just not saying those words, if you want to interpret that she's in love with him, sure, go ahead and do that. But you could also read it a lot of other ways, that she's so committed to what it was he's trying to bring about that, she'll have her own emotions, but that is her driving force. You could interpret it as she's hoping to, maybe even take over the whole thing. There are other ways to approach it, other ways to think about it, but you say the words, I love you, and suddenly it's like, oh, great. So that's her driving motivation. Okay. I just stop saying the words. One of the things I will always appreciate about the second season finale of Doctor Who is they have the whole thing with the Doctor and Rose on the beach, and the Doctor winds up to say something. He says, Rose Tyler, and then he vanishes, and we don't hear what he was going to say. And I am not going to argue that he wasn't going to say the words, I love you. I am hard-pressed to think of what else he might have possibly said. So I'm not even going to argue that he was going to say something else. But you didn't make me hear it, and so I don't have to deal with it. Thank you, Russell T. Davies, for that. I know these are my hang-ups. I don't know. But anyways, Loki and Mobius still having a good dynamic, bouncing off each other well, so they're still fun to watch, so that's good stuff. For me, though, the highlight was really sort of thinking about the build to the moment with Sylvie, with her decision to not kill him. And also, like, even before that, just the build talking between her and Loki and her being like, you think I enjoy this? You think I'm having fun? I'm not, but you won't do it. And so I have to. And I like how committed both she and Loki are to their perspectives and how those perspectives are, at present, incompatible. It's good stuff. And also, keeping them incompatible like that means we don't have to deal with the idea of those two having a big love confession too, because I don't need that either. It might still happen. I know they kind of already went there last season, but like let's just move past it, maybe. I don't always know why it bugs me so much when things go that way, but it really does. And I think at least half of that is just exhaustion. It's just such a common motivation. I'm like, you couldn't have left it at least slightly more interpretable of what was going on here. I don't know. In any case, decent episode. I think I like the second one a little bit better, but whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe, they all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here. So come on back next time you need a break. Time to thank some Patreon backers, and in the spirit of October, I'd like to thank Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfullah, Goddess Alita, Turok, The Thing That Goes Doink in the Anime, Ruth, Oliver B., Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Fernobilax the Poodle, Robin Powell, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, and Rosalind Bennett. Thank you for your assistance. I don't know, I might try theming the shoutouts in the future. I don't know, we'll see. Thank you.